Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United versus Bournemouth. I'm so excited for it. I'm wearing Joe Smith's scarf.
You look great.
Do I?
Yeah, you look like you put on amateur dramatic theatre shows and really think you're well above your station.
Well, I am Eccles' answer to Noel Coward.
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah.
You may not be Noel, but you certainly are a coward.
Oh, nicely done. Manchester United on a bit of a high after beating the mighty Chelsea.
Yeah.
Arguably the best Chelsea team we've ever seen.
Yeah.
At Old Trafford recently, showing that the boys are fighting for Eric Ten Hag. Listen, I hate the argument about spirit, passion, desire, fight, but it does come into play. Do you see that? Did you see that? And do you think that's what needs to be shown against Bournemouth?
Yeah. Weirdly, I also saw it against Galatasaray, you know.
Okay.
There was weaknesses and there was flaws and there was fear there.
Yeah.
But fear and effort aren't necessarily at the opposite ends of the spectrum. I thought we worked hard, but we were also scared.
Yeah.
So we sat back and we ended up conceding goals. The Newcastle one was so sort of damaging, I think, because I didn't see that effort. I didn't see the work. I saw Newcastle players running and our players not following them. And that isn't acceptable. There's a reason why the 3-3 against Galatasaray was gutting and annoying, but the response to the Newcastle game was far worse.
Yeah.
You know, it was far worse than the Tottenham game where we lost or the Arsenal game where we lost because their performance was borderline disgusting, really, wasn't it?
No, it was.
So I think you look at the Chelsea game and they're still there. There's people who are still willing to fight for the badge and for Ten Hag. And that does matter when you're looking at whether a manager is here by the end of the season or not. Performances like that against a weakened Chelsea team, whatever, do make a difference because if we'd have seen a repeat of the Newcastle performance or that style, it could have been the beginning of the end for Ten Hag. And now I'm sat here thinking, hopefully and probably it won't be.
Leads me on to my next question.
Yeah.
We've seen it with certain managers. I think it's Steve Cooper at Nottingham Forest this week has been told if he goes and beats, or if he doesn't beat Wolves or he loses to Wolves, then he's going to be out of a job. It does feel a little bit with Eric Ten Hag like he's almost one game away from being in serious trouble.
Yeah.
If he were to lose this game at Bournemouth with Bayern Munich, with Liverpool on the horizon, do you think he'd be banging trouble? I don't expect him to get sacked after this game, but do you think that could be one step towards his P45?
I mean, of course, but as a manager, you're always there, aren't you?
Okay.
You're only ever 6 or 7 bad games.
I think United is like 3, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a big one because they aren't very good. That's the crucial thing here, isn't it? But I think the thing is, if we work really hard and we push and we run in behind and we get balls in and we tackle hard and we track our men, we'll beat them.
100%.
So that's the thing, like, tactically, when we actually deploy the tactics that Ten Hag wants, we're good.
Yeah.
When we run hard, we're good. Talent-wise, we're far superior to them, which I think, they would admit as well. That's not a knock, that's just the situation. So if we work, and do the right things, we will win. So the only, barring some mad XG, explosion, just do the right things and you will beat them.
Yeah.
And let's just see that because, it doesn't take, no offence to Bournemouth, United to be on their best, title-winning form to beat them. We just have to try hard and trust the talent of the players that we've got. So if we see that, we'll win. So it kind of fulfills itself, if you know what I mean.
I completely agree. I think a good Manchester United team will beat the best Bournemouth has to offer.
Yeah.
But a Manchester United team that doesn't turn up could get undone by a Bournemouth team that have been capable of getting results this season. Let's not forget they've had a couple of decent results. So it's not like they're right at the bottom of the table just fighting relegation. So you've got to be wary of that. But all things being said, I expect us to be able to beat Bournemouth at home. Come on, let's not be silly about it. If we are going to win, then we need to pick the right team. Eric Ten Hag needs to pick the right team. We've got our predicted 11s. We've both gone for the same predicted 11, and it's the 11 that started the second half against Chelsea. So we'll talk us through it. It's Andre Onana in goal, Sergio Reguilon at left back, Luke Shaw left centre back. Yeah. You've then got Harry Maguire right centre back. You've got Diogo Dalot at right back. You've got a midfield 3 of Sofian Amrabat, Scott McTominay and Bruno Fernandes. And your front 3 is Garnacho, Rasmus Højlund and Anthony. We both feel that he will stick with that team. Yeah. There's no reason, is there? I don't want to labour the point, but why would you change it? What would be the reason to go? Maybe you might say Kobbie Mainoo needs minutes, but it does feel a bit of a stretch that. I love Kobbie Mainoo, by the way, but I'm thinking, why shoehorn him in to this now?
No, we have the manager needs to not get trapped in this like I play my boys, because you end up, it can keep a manager his job, but it can also lose a manager his job. You need to play the people who are playing well. Yeah. And McTominay is the one question mark in there in terms of what he does when he's not scoring. I know that's a ludicrous thing to say, but someone like Erling Haaland doesn't do a lot, but he scores 50 goals a season. The difference is he's in the attack, out the way almost. When your midfielder doesn't do a lot except score, and he ain't getting 50 goals a season, he's getting 10, then there's an issue there. Yeah. So the McTominay question is a strange one, and if you haven't watched Off the Bar, go and watch it, because we go into more detail on it there. I called it the Fellaini paradox, where it's like we can't play him because he doesn't do enough, but then we can't not play him because he's the only one scoring. So it's like he's almost trapped into playing Scott McTominay, and I do think it would be unfair to not play him after what he did against Chelsea, but that for me would be the only player where I think what he does when we ain't scoring isn't enough. But you can't drop him after that performance. So, just let that team play again. I
feel like dropping him might even send a message to the team that they'll start looking at each other going, what's this guy doing?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What? We've just beaten Chelsea, regardless of the quality of them, are a big scalp. Scott's got both the goals. Yeah. And he's dropping them for what is a must-win game. If we look at top 4, you can't be losing at home to Bournemouth. No. Those are the kind of games where you go, we've got to pick up 3 points there, otherwise, end of the season, you go, that's why we didn't get top 4. Yeah. So, listen, whether you're a big Scott McTominay fan or not, his goals speak for themselves. Not like we're exactly raining goals in the Premier League amongst our attackers either, so we need players that can score goals, and he's doing that.
Yeah. The front 3 has to remain the same. If you look really across the front 3, there's only you can sort of crunch the dial one over for each position. There's only Rashford for Garnacho, Martial for Højlund, Pellistri for Anthony. They're
all flawed as well.
Yeah, they're all flawed, and also there's no other options. No. And Rashford and Martial deserve to not play after the Newcastle game, and Garnacho and Højlund don't deserve to not play after the Chelsea game. So they have to stay. And I think Anthony the same. I don't think he deserves to get dropped for Pellistri. So I wouldn't change that either. And, Maguire's got to play. Shaw's got to play one way or another. And I think Dallow's been decent. You might see him switch Dallow for Wan-Bissaka, but, only for sort of other reasons, not because Dallow's been bad.
He might, you know what? He might do that, to be fair, because with Bayern Munich on the horizon and Dallow's his guy, he might go, look, have a breather, because I think Wan-Bissaka can do a job against Bournemouth, and you'll be back in for the Bayern Munich game. Talking of Bournemouth, they're doing all right this season. One player that's done well for him is Dominic Solanke, a player that he was at Liverpool not long ago, was a few years ago actually. But you sort of look at Solanke, you go, he's not quite at that level, but he's having a decent season. I think he's got 7 goals in 15 games. Can't be ignored. No. And we've had worse strikers or worse players score against us this season. Yeah. So you have to be mindful, don't you, against Bournemouth, because they do have some decent players and they do play decent football as well. Yeah. I don't want to be too dismissive of them, because they're not a team they're on a similar level to Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace beat us.
Yeah, no, they're good, and Solanke's good, and they did really well toward the end of last season. Unlucky. Well, I thought they were slightly harsh in sacking the manager, but Solanke's a good player. One of those that obviously probably hasn't reached the heights that people thought he might when he was sort of 17, 18 at Liverpool. This guy could be a genius, and wasn't he part of all those Euros and World Cup teams as well for England that did really well?
Yeah, I think
so. But 7 goals in 15 is better than anyone's done for Man United this season. So if any United players likely to score, he's just as likely to get a goal.
£70 million bid for Dominic Solanke in January.
But we have to take him seriously. That is the thing. That's why these performances can't be. We tried against Chelsea. We don't have to try again, surely. No. What do you mean? We have to try every week? Yes. And these are sometimes the games where you realise that. The Forest game was one. We'll probably beat these. We're 2-0 down after 8 minutes. This is what happens. Yeah. Everyone in the Premier League is good for one reason or another. So take them seriously, work really hard, and it should be enough. But they're a decent team, Bournemouth, and I quite like that they're in the Premier League. Yeah. What's the ground hold, 14,000 or something? Yeah. This all right, that?
You're having that one. All right, fair enough. With all that being said, give you a score prediction. But before you do, you lot at home, get your phone out, film yourself in landscape, and send your score prediction to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Joe, tell us what the score is going to be.
I still worry about our goal scoring ability, but you know what? I think looking back at that game, Højlund could have got a goal.
Yeah.
Anthony could have got a goal, and Anthony could have got a goal against Galatasaray as well. He's popping up in better positions.
Yeah.
And Garnacho obviously has got 2 goals in his last 3 or 4 games now.
Yeah.
So I think the front line will actually get a goal or 2. So I'm going to go 2-0 Manchester United. What are you saying?
I think we're going to go turbo and score loads of goals.
Why do you say this?
I think it's going to be 7-0.
No, you don't.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you actually?
Yeah.
Why?
We're just going to score early doors and just score absolute loads of goals, and it'll be like almost a record-breaking match for us.
Imagine being there for that if that does happen. After how it's been for the last month. And it's only Bournemouth, but the atmosphere would be unbelievable.
That's it, man.
Just screaming with happiness.
We'll be screaming with happiness on the watch along anyway, because me and you'll be here to watch that. Get involved in the comments in the chat. Let us know what your score predictions and your predicted teams are. Don't forget, if you're not doing already, to hit like, share and subscribe. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay Moy. This has been a preview for another big one for Manchester United against Bournemouth. Thanks for watching.